Hey, I'm just making a test video. Gonna just do this as a sample. Weird scenes inside the gold mine. Laurel Canyon, Covert Ops, and the Dark Heart of the Hippie Dream by David McGowan. I've read this book. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Dina. I'm just gonna talk about this book that I read that kind of changed how I looked at everything about the 60s. The 60s to me were a great time for music, for just culture overall, a lot of change, a lot of craziness. I was about 8 in 1970. I was born in 62. But I do remember the Manson family things happening. I do remember being afraid at night, thinking that the Manson family was going to come in my bedroom and kill me. I can remember that distinctly. I had to have been, 7, 8 years old when it happened. My older cousins, they were into the music. They were hippies, had long hair, the whole nine. They were into the music scene and, long hair, bell bottoms. And I was into all the music that they were listening to at the time. To read this book has really made me rethink that whole time. For years, I had this romanticized image of peace, love, the 60s man. And this book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, Laurel Canyon, Covert Ops, and the Dark Heart of the Hippie Dream, which is what I have showing you right here. This book is absolutely mind-blowing. I have to say up front, this book is controversial. It makes some pretty wild claims. And I'm not here to say whether they're true or not. But what I can say is that it's forced me to question everything I thought I knew about that era. So it focuses on Laurel Canyon. It was a neighborhood in Los Angeles that was ground zero for the 1960s LA music scene, specifically to LA. Now, we're talking about bands like Doors, Birds, Buffalo, Springfield, all that. Joni Mitchell, all that. Now, McGowan in this book argues that it wasn't just a coincidence, that he was suggesting that something much more sinister is going on. Now, here's where it gets wild. McGowan claims that many of the most famous musicians in that era had deep connections to the military and intelligence communities. He points out that an unusually high number of these rock stars were children of high-ranking military officers that served in intelligence roles themselves. I remember reading about the Doors, that Jim Morrison's father, he was an admiral and he did some major freaking government thing. I don't know if Bay of Pigs or something. I might have to revisit that. But, oh, yeah, the Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah, he was the Navy Admiral. And David Crosby's dad was a military intelligence officer. Now, these are just two examples of what the author McGowan, touches on. It doesn't stop there. This book goes on to suggest that the entire hippie movement might have been, at least in part, a sophisticated operation to undermine the anti-war movement. The acronym agencies are compromised, so this now makes total sense as I come to think. It's a far cry from the peace and love narrative I grew up believing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like some far out conspiracy theory, but hey, if you know me, you know I'm not above that. This has just some facts. Whether or not you believe McGowan's claims, he passed a few years ago, so it's not like we can go back. This book is meticulously where he passed. He talked about all this stuff, and I mean, this book is packed with verifiable facts that, at the very least, raise some intriguing questions. Seriously. Reading this book has been a trip down a very different kind of memory lane for me. It made me look back on the music I love with new eyes, and to hear, the album covers that once seemed so trippy or whatever, innocuous, is like, they now feel loaded with hidden meanings and potential secrets in some way or other. But even more than that, it's made me think about how easily we accept the narratives we're given about history. How much do we really know about the forces shape our culture? I mean, shit. Think about it. How much do we really know about understanding of the things that are happening now if we look at the past through the lens of what we're figuring out happened then? I'm not saying we should believe everything we read. Far from it. But I do think there's a value in questioning our assumptions and being open to alternative perspectives, even if they challenge our cherished book. If you're interested in the 60s, the music of that era, or you just want to enjoy a good historical, very well-researched book, I highly recommend you check out Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. It might not change your mind about the 60s and all that stuff, the music of that time. I guarantee you that it will make you think. And who knows, maybe you'll find yourself, like me, looking back at your childhood with new eyes, wondering what other secrets might be hiding in plain sight. Seriously. Well, that's it. This is a short little sample, my little review of this book. And like I said, if you're into rock and roll and you're all part of that whole scene, get this book. It's so worth it. It's a great read in whatever way, shape, or form. I have the paperback. I believe it's on Audible too, but I'll have links here in the description. There will be links to Amazon. And if you decide to buy the book, you'll get a commission fee for steering you in the direction of purchasing the book, but it won't cost you anything more. Helps me out so that I can keep buying Lula her little doggy treats. So thank y'all for listening. Yeah, I guess I'll be on to the next one.